Did you know there are theories suggesting that the sinking of the Titanic was not an accident but a planned conspiracy? Ah, the Titanic, a name that echoes through the annals of history. A testament to human ingenuity and ambition, it was the largest passenger ship of its time. A floating palace, they called it, flaunting the pinnacle of Edwardian luxury. But as we all know, this symbol of man's triumph over nature met with a catastrophic end on its maiden voyage in 1912. The traditional narrative tells us that the unsinkable Titanic met its end due to a collision with an iceberg. A tragic accident that claimed the lives of more than 1,500 souls. But over time, whispers and rumors have started to surface, challenging the established narrative. What if the sinking of the Titanic was not merely an accident, but a meticulously planned conspiracy? Sounds far-fetched, doesn't it? But bear with me, for the world is not always as it seems. There exists a myriad of theories, each more intriguing than the last, suggesting that the Titanic's tragic end was orchestrated. Some argue that it was a sinister plot for insurance money. Others suggest it was a ploy to eliminate opposition to the creation of the Federal Reserve. As outlandish as these theories may sound, each one is backed by a series of coincidences and anomalies that seem too significant to be dismissed as mere chance. We will delve into these theories, examine the evidence, and leave no stone unturned. We will question the accepted history, challenge the mainstream narrative, and perhaps, just perhaps, uncover a truth that's been hidden for over a century. So fasten your seatbelts, or should I say, secure your life jackets, as we embark on a journey into the depths of one of history's greatest mysteries. The iceberg might have been the culprit we've all been told about, but was it really the iceberg that brought about the downfall of the Titanic? But what if the iceberg was not the real reason behind this tragedy? What if it was all orchestrated? One of the most popular theories is the switch theory. This theory suggests that the Titanic, the unsinkable ship that sank on her maiden voyage, was in fact not the Titanic at all. Instead, the theory proposes that it was the Titanic's sister ship, the RMS Olympic, that met a chilly end in the North Atlantic Ocean. But why, you might ask, would anyone want to switch two nearly identical ships? The answer, dear listeners, lies in the murky depths of financial desperation. The ship's owners, the White Star Line, were allegedly facing financial ruin. The Olympic, unlike her supposedly unsinkable sister, had been involved in a series of accidents. The most serious of these occurred in 1911, a year before the Titanic's doomed voyage, when she collided with a British warship, the HMS Hawke. The Olympic was severely damaged and her repairs were costly. So, the switch theory purports that the White Star Line, driven by financial desperation, hatched a plan to pass off the damaged Olympic as the Titanic and sink it to claim the insurance money. However, the plan supposedly went awry when the ship hit an iceberg and sank faster than anticipated, leading to the tragic loss of over 1,500 lives. Now, you might be thinking, how could such a switch even be possible? The two ships were nearly identical, but there were slight differences. Some theorists point to the number of portholes on the ships as a telltale sign. The Olympic had 16, while the Titanic had 14. In photographs taken shortly before the Titanic's maiden voyage, the ship is seen with 16 portholes. Could it be, then, that the White Star Line pulled off one of the greatest deceptions in maritime history? Could it be possible that the unsinkable Titanic was never really sunk? These questions continue to fuel the flames of speculation and intrigue, keeping the mystery of the Titanic alive over a century later. Another intriguing theory revolves around the famous financier, J.P. Morgan. We're all familiar with his name, but did you know that Morgan had significant financial interests in the Titanic? As a matter of fact, he was the owner of the International Mercantile Marine Company, the parent company of the White Star Line, to which the Titanic belonged. Now let's stir the pot a little. The theory suggests that Morgan orchestrated the disaster to eliminate some of his rivals who were on board the Titanic. Yes, you heard that right. Some of the wealthiest and most influential men of that era were on board the ill-fated ship. These were men who had the power to make or break financial empires. Men like John Jacob Astor, owner of the Astoria Hotel, and Benjamin Guggenheim of the powerful Guggenheim family. These men had one thing in common. They were Morgan's rivals. Coincidence? Perhaps. Or could it be that the sinking of the Titanic was a carefully plotted scheme to remove these obstacles from Morgan's path to financial domination? And here's another twist to the tale. J.P. Morgan was supposed to be on the maiden voyage of the Titanic, but he suspiciously cancelled his trip just a few days before the ship set sail. His reason? A sudden bout of illness. However, it was reported that he was seen perfectly healthy in France, basking in the sun on the very day the Titanic sunk. The theory, while shocking, does raise questions. Was the Titanic's disaster merely an unfortunate incident or a ruthless power play? Was the unsinkable ship doomed from the start, not by an iceberg, but by the cold calculations of a financial tycoon? Could the sinking of the Titanic have been the result of a ruthless power play? As we dive deeper into the murky waters of this theory, we're left to wonder, what really lies beneath the surface of the Titanic's tragic tale? Then there's the theory connecting the Titanic to the establishment of the Federal Reserve. Yes, you heard it right, the Federal Reserve, the central banking system of the United States. Now, isn't that a twist you didn't see coming? The theory suggests that the sinking of the Titanic was no accident, but a meticulously planned event with a singular purpose: to eliminate those who opposed the establishment of the Federal Reserve. This theory hinges around the fact that some of the wealthiest men in the world were on board the Titanic, and some of them were known to be vocal critics of such a central banking system. One such man was John Jacob Astor IV, one of the richest men in the world at the time. Astor was a well-known critic of the idea of a centralized banking system like the Federal Reserve. He was not alone. Benjamin Guggenheim and Isidor Straus, two other incredibly wealthy men who perished on the Titanic, were also in opposition to the Federal Reserve. The theory proposes that these men were deliberately led aboard the Titanic to meet their icy demise, thus clearing the path for the establishment of the Federal Reserve. The sinking of the Titanic occurred in April of 1912, and the Federal Reserve was established in December of the following year, 1913. Coincidence, or a carefully orchestrated plan? Of course, it's vital to remember that these are theories, not proven facts. There is no concrete evidence that the sinking of the Titanic was anything but a tragic accident. But it does make you wonder, doesn't it? In the grand scheme of things, the pieces do seem to fit together rather neatly. Could the Titanic have been sunk to reshape the world's financial system? It's a question worth pondering. After all, the world of finance and power is often more intertwined and complex than we can imagine. These theories, while fascinating, are not universally accepted. It's important to note that while they make for a captivating narrative, the evidence supporting these claims is largely circumstantial. The idea that the Titanic was swapped with its sister ship, the Olympic, for insurance fraud purposes, or that J.P. Morgan planned the disaster to eliminate his rivals, or even that the sinking was orchestrated to establish the Federal Reserve, are all theories that, while intriguing, lack concrete proof. Consider the counter-arguments posed by historians and experts. They assert that the switch theory, for example, overlooks the significant differences between the Titanic and the Olympic. Similarly, the J.P. Morgan theory is undermined by the fact that many of his supposed rivals weren't even on board. And the Federal Reserve conspiracy, while a compelling tale of political intrigue, lacks solid historical backing. However, the beauty of theories is that they stimulate thought, provoke questions, and encourage a deeper understanding of the world around us. They remind us that history isn't always as it seems on the surface, and that there may be more to learn, more to uncover, more to question. We invite you to continue this exploration. Read more about these theories, delve into the evidence, and form your own opinions. Engage in discussions, ask questions, and seek answers. Remember, the journey to knowledge is as important as the destination. In a world where the line between fact and fiction is often blurred, critical thinking is our greatest tool. It's our compass in the vast sea of information, guiding us towards truth and away from unfounded speculation. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear more about intriguing theories, don't forget to subscribe for more content. Remember, the world is full of mysteries waiting to be unraveled.